Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back with another episode. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. We are here live to talk about the Week 18 matchup between the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. This is going to be a tale of the tapes. This is going to be a very interesting game. A lot on the line for both teams, and a lot is at risk. Both teams are 9-7, who has been competing for off the get-go. So this game is going to be really important. I'm by myself today. I'm Coach Shock. Shout out to the team. Prayers out to Landon. I know he's sick. I was going to have Lucas on the show, but he's sick too. So prayers out to both of those guys. Speedy recovery. I'll see you guys when I get back. But I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to hold the fort down, and I'm going to root for our team. So let's talk about this game going into this matchup. So the Houston Texans versus the Indianapolis Colts. The Houston Texans has had an amazing season so far. Personally, I think from where they're starting, for where they're coming from, out the draft, I think they had a tremendous offseason. They got a lot of vets on this team, and they got a young team as well. Moving forward into the future, this could be a dynasty in the making. They have potential to be really good in the upcoming years. And the AFC South is looking on the upside for all teams in general. I think the AFC South is going to be one of those divisions where they're going to be super competitive for a very long time. And we had this conversation before. But, this young team, Houston Texans, is led by C.J. Stroud, who they drafted last year out of Ohio State. He's had a very good rookie season. Battled some injuries, but I think overall, as a rookie coming into this league, you didn't expect much, especially when you looked at this team on paper. You're like, all right, this team's going to have some flashes, but I think they exceeded expectations, and I think they had a really good year. So the things are looking up, and now they have a chance to make the playoffs. So when you look at this team, and you're like where they are right now, I think Houston fans have a lot to cheer for. And it's something to look for on the bright side moving forward. And now they're going up against the Indianapolis Colts, who they battled already this year, and they lost, unfortunately. But C.J. Stroud did have almost 400 passing yards. He pretty much picked that defense apart by himself, and he was just moving. And I think that kind of would hit his stride playing the Colts so early, especially as a rivalry game. It was week 2, it was pretty early. So playing them and then, just catching momentum, testing the waters and just playing out. I think he had a really good game. Unfortunately, the Colts won because that was the day Anthony Richardson got hurt and Minshew mania began for the Colts. And now they're led by Minshew going into the rest of the season, and they finished off at 9-7. And I think a lot of Colts fans, when they looked at this Colts team, they had like low expectations. I think I was one of them. I think I probably had the highest expectation out of all of them. I had the Colts, making a wild card or possibly winning the division going into the season, and and things kind of look that way right now as we see it. And they're 9-7, and they had a really up and down season. But I think overall, in general, when you look at this team, you have something to be proud about if you're a Colts fan. This team has battled adversity. They lost their franchise quarterback that they just drafted in Anthony Richardson, but Uncle Rico Gardner Minshew stepped in, and I think he did his just due. He's a good backup quarterback. He's a very good bridge quarterback as well. So I think that's one of the sole reasons why they brought him on this team. And to see where he has gone so far and to where he is now, I think I have a lot to, pay my respects to Gardner Minshew. I think he had himself a very solid season. It could have been better, but I think just for now, I think he had a pretty decent season. So kudos to Gardner Minshew. All is on the line this game for both teams. We're going to talk about the Houston Texans first when they're coming into this matchup. When you look at their offense is, it has its highs and lows. And I think they're like in the middle of the pack when you look at the NFL in general. When you look at their offense, it can be good and it can be bad. But when you look at their momentum or where they are right now, I think they are very sneaky and very good. So it's one of those offenses, especially when you pair them up against this Colts defense, who's had their moments this year when it comes to trying to stop offenses on opposing offenses. Just like I said, in week 2, C.J. Stroud almost had 400 passing yards. Is that going to be a reoccurring effect going into this week? Now, when you look at the injury report, the Colts pretty much got all hands on deck going into this game, which is probably one of the brightest spots we've seen all year because we've been banged up from week in and week out. And I think this is probably going to be one of the only weeks that we probably pretty much have almost everybody available. And I know Chris Lammons has been downgraded to out. But when you look at like starter-wise, besides Julian Blackman, I think pretty much everybody is playing. And, that's a pretty big deal going into this week because this game is pretty much win or go home. So, is that going to be an occurring effect? The Colts defense, is it going to show up, or is it going to be the same effect that we've been seeing each week coming out of this game? So it's going to be very important for this Colts defense to step up. And I think one of those things is going to be, can they bring pressure? I think pressure is going to be a very important piece going into this game. They're going to have to bring some type of noise and some type of pressure against C.J. Stroud to get him uncomfortable and try to battle it out. Now, of course, the Colts and Texans does have a history when it comes to playoff matchups. If you guys don't remember, Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, and that Houston Texans team went into the wild card against the Indianapolis Colts, and the Colts happened to win that game. But, the Colts defense, I think Kenny Moore had a breakout game that game against the Texans. But, this matchup is going to be very important. Like I said, Kenny Moore is going to have to be hitting on all cylinders. Like he's had an amazing season. So kudos to Kenny Moore. I think stopping the pass game is going to be very key for the Colts to have any type of chance of winning. So the pass rush is definitely going to have to step up and to perform. And they have been performing all year. It's been a quiet year, but they have been top 10 in sacks. From my knowledge, I think they've been top 10 in sacks when it comes to, just in general when it comes to defenses. And I think the Colts fans, it's been a while since we've seen something like that. Maybe since the Freeney and Mathis days, from edge rushes or just pressure in general, sacking the quarterback. So, the Colts defense definitely has some type of upgrade in this offseason. They had picked up a lot of talent as well. So it's been pretty good for Colts fans to see a defense actually sack the quarterback and get pressures. I know last year was probably supposed to be an upgrade, but I feel like this year our pass rush has been a little bit more athletic than what we've seen in the past years. So shout out to, yes, 49 sacks, tied for fifth in the NFL. I agree, exactly. So they are one of the best defenses when it comes to, getting sacks and hitting that quarterback. And I think, it's been a tremendous upgrade. So I think this team definitely has to go get C.J. Stroud. And C.J. Stroud's been protected pretty well in the past few games. So he only been sacked maybe twice in the last 2 games. And, his QBR has been pretty good as well. And he hasn't thrown any picks. But you can say the same thing for Gardner Minshew when it comes to protection. Protection-wise, I think the Colts did an outstanding job. They've been improving. Shout out to Braden Smith for actually finally recovering and seeing the field. There's been speculation about Colts fans wanting to get rid of Braden Smith. Braden Smith has been on the injury report since week 1. And, he hasn't been playing. But he finally came back. He knows what's at stake. I don't think he's 100% healthy. But I think, when it comes down to, every man is available and he can play. He's out there playing, and he's been a tremendous improvement from the right tackle slot, and it's good to see him back on the field because we desperately needed Braden Smith. Last week, we played a very good game. The Raiders, their defensive line is very treacherous with Max Crosby. He was he was wreaking havoc, but the offensive line really impressed me going up against this defensive line for the Raiders because they were going crazy for a while. But when they went up against the Colts did their just due. And they pretty much protected Minshew. And Minshew didn't throw any picks. And he barely was touched. So it was a good thing to see. Hopefully they can do that again against this team because the Houston Texans defensive line is pretty good as well. They're young, athletic. They got Will Anderson Jr. They got some veterans like Barnett and those guys out there on that defensive line. So they're gonna be sending some heat. They're pretty good at getting the quarterback too. So the offensive line is definitely gonna have to step up and do some more protection this week, especially when it's win or go home situation. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how the Colts are going to do against this Houston Texans pass rush. I think the Texans will have a DA out. That's what doing well. Yeah. But you still can't count them out. Next man up. I still think they're going to send some pressure, but it's going to be very important for the Colts offensive line to help Minshew because I think when Minshew plays his best is when he's not getting pressured. So, it's been showing, and the proof is in the pudding. If you look at the last few games, like the last 3 games in general, Minshew, he struggled 3 weeks ago, but week after week, the offensive line has been getting better at protecting him, and he's been getting comfortable, and he hasn't been having some of those crazy passes. You was more nervous for the Raiders game? Yeah, I agree too, but, it wasn't, I would say the last 2 games, It was pressure, but Minshew has his roller coaster moments, but I feel like he's kind of toned it down a little bit when he gets the ball out very quickly and he has time to make the play, and he doesn't have to play hero ball. Last week, we seen him target Alec Pierce for a bomb, 53 yards, which was beautiful. And this is something that we've been wanting since the beginning of the season because when you look at it, Alec Pierce, he's one of those guys that if you throw it up, he's going to go get it. He's pretty much known for drawing a flag when the ball's thrown up to him anyway. So the fact that, last week they actually did it and he caught the ball wide open mid-stride, double coverage, just smoked past the DBs, it was like this could have been happening since the beginning of the year. But the fact that, it took time and Minshew has his moments, but he actually found Alec Pierce and Alec Pierce hit stride and caught and went crazy. It's like, we can see this again and again moving forward. Of course, we're going to see it when Anthony Richardson comes back. But the fact that Minshew knows that, he's available for those type of moments, I'm pretty sure we're going to see some of that against the Houston Texans. Minshew's 110 plus rating over the last 2 games comfortable? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Minshew's going to play against this Houston Texans team. The last time he played, he looked very comfortable. He looked like himself. Minshew mania was woke, and he played some good football. So moving forward, when you look at the Colts offense, one of the key things is going to be penalties. Penalties is going to be very pivotal. This game is going to be broadcasted as prime time, so it's going to be flippy flop when it comes to these flags. So we got to be very disciplined going into this game. We are at home, but the refs at home has been a little skeptical. The game against the Cleveland Browns is probably the one that stands out the most. And that game was like, we wouldn't even be battling for a playoff spot if they would have got the call right. But it is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm just saying. So they got to be very disciplined. Blake Freeland, Bernard Ryman. Bernard Ryman, he's had a very good season as well. But those holding calls and those neutral zones, like, we got to be very, very disciplined when it comes to this game, because I know there's going to be a lot of flags possibly when it comes to this type of game. Yeah, I know the Browns game. Yeah, I'm sorry I brought it up. I know. I'm sorry. But it is what it is. Like I said, so we got to be very disciplined on both sides of the field when it comes to these flags. We know Jalen Jones is going to get targeted. Jalen Jones is a very scrappy corner. I know he had a pick 6 almost against Devontae Adams, but the push off, before that happened, I mean, it's going to be something in this game that's going to have Colts fans going crazy on social media. But like I said, the Colts got to be very disciplined going into this game. Like I said, the offensive line is going to be very key, and I feel like that's going to probably be where most of the flags come from, like as usual. But more off of the offensive lines for both teams and the defensive lines. A unit that I'm going to be looking forward to, especially from the Colts defense, is stopping the tight end. The tight end group for the Texans is going to be favored, I'm pretty sure. Now, of course, it's going to be Nico Collins when it comes to, C.J. Stroud or whoever's throwing them the football. Nico Collins is going to be favorable. He was favorable last time they played. So C.J. Stroud is definitely going to look at that tight end group and try to dissect the zone if we're running it. But I feel like for some reason I just have this gut feeling that Gus Bradley is going to change up the scheme to what we're used to seeing. I feel like he's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat and have a lot of disguises when it comes to this scheme in this game. I don't know. I feel like, because I know a lot of Colts fans want Gus Bradley gone, but I think this game is going to keep Gus Bradley in Indianapolis. I really do. I feel like Gus Bradley, this game is going to keep him in Indy after this season. A lot of Colts fans might not like it. They might not like it. But I think with the full defense that's healthy, even without Blackman, I feel like the defensive scheme is going to be a little bit more blitzing than what we're used to seeing. That's just me. We might get Kenny Moore. We might get a Kenny Moore sack this week. But I do feel like there's going to be a lot more blitzes this week. Knowing that C.J. Stroud's a rookie, they're going to put pressure on him. C.J. Stroud's going to be running. He's going to be running this week. So I do feel like the scheme is going to be upped a little bit. I feel like there's going to be a lot more pressure. I feel like we're going to send some heat. And I do feel like Gus Bradley's going to dig in his bag this week to try to get this defense to be hitting on all cylinders like they've been doing. The defense has been quietly good, and also the offense has been quietly good for the Colts as well. A lot of people don't give the Colts offense a lot of credit than what they should. I think this Colts offense has been a top 11 in the NFL. Top 11. If you say numbers wise, yes. But when you look at the team, that performance, you're going to be like, a lot of games, the Colts offense was like not really, moving the chains. But I think they've been, averaging like 21 points per game. So this offense can put up some points when they have them moments. But like I said, the team has been banged up with injuries all year. But like I said, the team's going to be fully all hands on deck this week. So I feel like this offense is going to be. This game's going to be crazy. This game's going to be a movie. I'm going to give you my prediction at the end of the game. But this game's going to be a movie. Being as though it's that, I will say we do have Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor this game as well, which is a tremendous boost for the running back room. Even though I love me some Trey Sermon deserves to come back to Indy after this year. He deserves to come back to Indy. Now, how much he's getting or whatever's happening, I don't know. But I think Trey Sermon definitely solidified his spot on the roster. Ever since he came into Indianapolis, this dude has been nothing but amazing. Just simply, he's just a hard runner. And I think the running back room is definitely going to have a good week as well. The Texans has been really good at stopping the run. I will give them credit for that. They've been really good at stopping the run. They held Henry for like 3 yards per carry last week. Taylor averages 4 yards per carry. So stopping Henry is definitely, a tremendous boost or a tremendous shout out when it comes to stopping the run. So I think the Texans defense is really good at stopping the run. So Jonathan Taylor and those boys are definitely going to have to, be hitting on all cylinders. I know he has some shaky moments, on the runs where everybody's like, what is Taylor doing? What does he see? But he's still a tremendous running back, one of the best in the league. Having Zach Moss come back as well to relieve some of that pressure. It's going to be interesting to see how they do the splits and the carries this week. So the running back room is definitely going to be, something to look at as well because, if we don't have any run game, Minshew is going to be looking to throw the ball 40 times, and we do not want to see that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the run game looks going into this week. But I do think they can have another good week as well. But I do think Stroud for the Texans, I do think the Texans are going to have a better run day than a passing day. Because like I said, I do think the pressure is going to be there for the Colts this week. So I do think the run game might see some success. The Colts have had some shaky moments in stopping the run this year. Of course, Grover Stewart coming back and everything was a tremendous boost. But I do think, the run game was still a problem eventually. Even the pass game is a problem sometimes. So I do think the run game might be favored for Houston over the pass game this week. Because like I said, I think Gus Bradley is going to drop something to try to, get Stroud off edge to make the Texans look like they have to run the ball more than they pass. But Stroud's going to do his thing. I think Stroud's going to do his thing for sure. But I don't think it's going to be like how it was in week 2. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be how it was in week 2. It's a lot on the line. We heard C.J. Stroud talking trash. Whatever that video that was posted, if you guys know what I'm talking about. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be loud in the arena, like Migsby said. So I do think it's going to be very interesting this week coming up Saturday. Colts will have to work on cutting down rushing and passing yards on D next year. Absolutely. Because this year, even though we've seen, a lot of turnovers from the Colts defense and everything, it still was an issue. Like, it's unacceptable to how the pass game, even in the Raiders game, Devontae Adams was just, at one point I thought the Raiders were going to win. Devontae Adams was just wide open on a lot of plays. But shout out to my dog Juju. Shout out to my dog Jalen Jones. Those guys played outstanding coverage on Devontae Adams on certain plays. Adams got his. He definitely got his. But there was a lot of plays where those young guns was out there putting up they was looking like some top corners in certain moments, man. So shout out to those guys. They're some scrappy corners, but they do have their moments as well. But I think it's going to be a good week for them as well. I'd also got to give my credit to Derek Stingley Jr. There was a lot of controversy coming into the draft about if they should draft Stingley first. I thought Stingley was a dog coming out of college, and the fact that he's out there hitting his stride now, and at the best time too, is like the Texans are just in win now mode. Like, Stingley has been amazing for Houston. He's been amazing for Houston. So definitely give his credit for that. And he's gonna probably have a good week too. So, I mean, Minshew can't test Stingley because Stingley has definitely been on the hunt for the ball. He's definitely been on ball hunt. So we're gonna have to watch that moving into this week. So shout out to him. I think that their DBs is pretty solid as well. But it's not something that we should be afraid of. I think we can still test them. You know, having our wide receiver one back, we've seen how it was without him. So Michael Pittman Jr., if he's available to play, it's going to be a tremendous boost to the wide receiver room because he is definitely wide receiver one, and he is something that the Colts offense they need desperately. They really need him. I think he just elevates the room and just opens up the door for other talent to get the ball and to move the ball down the field, man. You never know how much you need them until they're gone. When Michael Pittman Jr. missed the game, it was like, man, there was so many players when you were like, you know, if Mike was in the game, you know, we would get that. You know, it was just those moments when you were like, Michael Pittman Jr. can definitely be that guy right now if he was available. So if we can get him back, that'd be awesome. We're definitely going to need him in this game. So we're looking forward to seeing how this game's going to be. Now, special teams is going to be important. Special teams is important every game, but special teams this game is definitely going to be important. We're going to have to hit all our field goals. And, you know, we won last week because of a field goal. The highest paid kicker, you know, won the game. I did predict the game to be won by a field goal, so he did do his just due. So I definitely commend Matt for that. So we're going to need him again this week. I think special teams, like kickoff, we can't have one of those games where, you know, special teams are just, off the grid, man. Special teams got to be hitting all cylinders. They can't have big gains on kick returns, punt returns. The gunners are going to have to be gunning, man. We're going to need the special teams to actually step up and not, do what they usually do in certain moments. Because this year has been a little shaky for special teams, but I think in general, I think it's been pretty good. Josh Downs, he's been the returner since the whole suspension thing with McKenzie and everything. But I do think, kick returns and punt returns are going to be pivotal, especially spots on the field. So we're going to have to be hitting on all cylinders, especially when it comes to special teams. He said, I hope Pierce or Josh Downs take the throne of the Texans killer that T.Y. left. Yeah, I know. We kind of want T.Y. to bang that anvil, too. I know there was a lot of social media questions like who's going to bang the anvil this week. So a lot of people want T.Y. to do it. So hopefully that'll be dope because that'll definitely be a momentum booster, too. So now let's get into the score prediction. Let me know your score predictions in the comment section. So who you got winning this game. So let's see. But I'm going to go with the Colts to win this game. I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Last game was high-scoring, but C.J. Stroud had almost 400 passing yards. I don't think that's possible. Like I said, I do think the run game for the Texans might be key this week. So I'm going to go with the Colts to win. I'm going to go Colts 27, Texans 23. I'm going to go 27-23. Oh, Migsby got the same score prediction. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go Colts 27-23. I do think that's a pretty good game. It's going to be a lot of back and forth, but I do think the Colts can hold the Texans to a few field goals. So I'm going to go Colts 27. If they can get 30, that'll make me even prouder. But my prediction is 27-23 Colts win. The key players, one for offense, I'm going to go Michael Pittman Jr. I think Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be very pivotal. I know who's going to be shadowing him the all game, but I do think he can get his in and out. You can put him anywhere in the field, he can get the ball. So I'm going to go with Michael Pittman Jr. offense. On defense, I'm going to go DeForest Buckner. Why? Is because it's going to go into my next segment. DeForest Buckner did not make the Pro Bowl this year. I don't know why that was the case. I know it's fan votes, but I think that's blasphemy. I think DeForest Buckner, out of his position, had one of the best years. That's kind of cliche to say because DeForest Buckner is always like an all-pro at his position, but I think this year he's been really wreaking havoc, especially even when we lost Grover Stewart. I think DeForest has been a force all year. So I do think he should have made the Pro Bowl. I think Zaire Franklin should have made the Pro Bowl. I think it's disrespectful when it comes to the voting process especially with a guy like Zaire Franklin, who led the league in tackles. There's guys in there. It's not discredit anybody that's in the Pro Bowl, but when you look at Zaire's numbers and what he has done all year, he backed it up, man. This dude Zaire was a dog since week one, and I think I think he deserved a spot in the Pro Bowl. It's just unfair when it comes to these situations. There's so much talent that gets left out. Even Derek Stingley Jr., man, it's like so much talent that gets left out that just doesn't get in the Pro Bowl just because it's fan votes. It's like it's unacceptable. So I mean, it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, we got Quentin Nelson. Shout out to Big Q. Big Q got in there. He was a dog all year too. Definitely a bounce back year, and it's something you love to see, especially from a guy like Big Q. Who doesn't? He was a competitor. He's a competitor, so it's good to see him back in the Pro Bowl. As long as we got one, right? As long as we got one in there, so hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. Hey, appreciate you for coming through. Shout out to the Ravens. Appreciate you for coming through. So, it's good to see Big Q make it. Hopefully, these guys got a little fuel to their fire this week, especially after hearing the Pro Bowl news and everything. So, I know they're gonna come out there with a little bit of fuel. We at home too. I know Shane Steichen's gonna get this team lined up to go play good football. I know Zaire's gonna get this defense to play good football. So, I trust Shane Steichen. I haven't lost faith yet, and I know he's gonna go out there and get these guys ready to play. He's definitely got to be in the Coach of the Year conversations now that we're talking about votes and things of that nature. What he's done with this team this season is incredible. I think he overseeded expectations, and it's like what he did with this team. What we were last year, one of the worst teams in NFL history. The record-wise, the QB carousel, the coaching carousel, everything that the Colts been through. And this guy that just come off a Super Bowl run to run head coach for this team, to take them where they took him with the backup quarterback is very impressive. Very impressive. So he has to be in that exactly. He has to be in that conversation for Coach of the Year. He has to be. He has to be. It's not me being biased or anything. I think anybody, if you ask any team, any fan of any other team, besides them picking their own coach, you ask them, what about Shane Steichen from Indianapolis? They might say, yeah, he deserves to be in that conversation. So definitely give him that nod for Coach of the Year, because he deserves it, man. Where he took this team, what they're doing is remarkable. It really is. So shout out to him. But that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. But tune in tomorrow. This game's going to be prime time, so tune in. I might be streaming as well, so if you guys want to watch it with me, do so. So I appreciate everybody for coming through. Appreciate you guys on all platforms. Follow us. Links in the description. And until next time, I will see you guys. Enjoy the game. Want to go home. Let's go Colts. Get it done. We need that game. We need that playoff game, man. We need it. So I'll see you guys when I see you.